This is a simple question, but does that mean that you sell $1 million worth of real estate a year, or how do you get into that?
Okay, that just means that you sell in excess of $1 million a year, and to do that, you have to handle, to qualify for $1 Million Club, you have to handle at least $1 million a year. I generally will sell in excess of $3 million, but you know, somewhere always above $3 million, some years more than others.
How many houses did you sell last year?
You know, I was afraid you'd ask me that. I really don't know how many I sold. I keep a record, and what I consider is sometimes I get a listing and sometimes a sale. So each thing in the long run is equal. If I list your house to sell, it's a transaction, and if I sell your house, that's a transaction. So ideally, you would want to have, most people would hope to have maybe 2 or 3 transactions a month. I would generally have 2 or 3 a week. So I think last year total transactions I probably had maybe 70 or so.
Any realtor, any other honors, any realtor of the year, anything we're going to see at your office of that type of thing?
Well, I'm real proud of this. I'm the first woman to win the Augusta Board of Realtors Commercial Trophy for commercial sales, and that means that I handled more in that month than any other commercial agent. And I've also won it for residential. The board awards 2 awards every month. And I've won it several times for residential, but it was kind of significant to be the only woman to win it in commercial. I handle a lot of commercial transactions, but I like doing residential more. I like that sense of satisfaction that comes when you help somebody find what they like and then see that transaction all the way through. I mean, that's not in any goody two-shoes kind of way, but it's just fun to do that.
How long have you been in this real estate?
10 years. 1977 I got my license.
Let's back up. Let's go to the other end of this for a minute. You started what you would consider your career at a bank, correct?
Yeah, as a matter of fact. I finished high school a year early and went straight into the bookkeeping department in a bank, and just kind of worked my way all through all the departments. And of course I didn't realize at the time that someday that would have a strong impact on my real estate career, because I never started out looking for a real estate career. It's just that circumstances worked out that way. But along the way, learning all about the banking process has helped me tremendously in being able to do creative financing, especially over these last few years when mortgage rates were so high, and the best source of financing was not just to go to the bank. And so I had an opportunity to learn from the ground up that side of the business world.
Bank teller, you said before, as a teller,
well,
or bookkeeping?
I started out in bookkeeping. I worked first actually as a file clerk. And then from there I went on through the bookkeeping department, and then on through the mortgage department, and I've been all kinds of different tellers. You know, in a bank you can be a lot of different tellers, not just a paying and receiving teller, but a loan and discount teller where you come get a 90-day note and the teller processes that. And then I just worked my way on up and had people working for me when I was real young. I had a lot of people that worked under me, so that gave me some management experience and dealing with people. There again, not realizing all of that would fit in with a real estate career later on.
CNS Bank?
I worked at CNS, but as it turned out, I've worked at a lot of different banks. I've worked for CNS and First National, and for a short time I lived in Columbus, Georgia, and I worked at the Fourth National Bank there. And I've worked for CNS in South Carolina, and I just kept moving around. You have to remember that back during those years when I was working in the bank, women did not have the opportunities that they have now. And so I came along at a time when the men had all the major responsibilities and the women worked for them. So for me to have an opportunity to have people work for me back then was more significant than it is now, because, you know, that's probably, I don't know what the statistics would show, but there are a lot more women in management positions in banks now probably than men.
You've come from that situation to accomplish a lot, and certainly a fair amount of success. How did you get yourself from the banking career to the real estate?
Well, I had an opportunity to not work outside the home for a period of time in my life, and during that time, I've always just because I left my formal education real early, I've just been determined that I would compensate for that by going to every school I could go to. And if anytime I had an opportunity to do something, I tried to enroll in the school to make sure I knew how to do it. If I was asked to model in a Civic Club fashion show, then I wanted to go to modeling school and make sure I knew how to do it. And if I was going to have people over for dinner, I enrolled in a cooking class to make sure that I knew how to do it. And as a result of that kind of thinking, I became a National Flower Show judge, because I love flowers and plants, and I wanted to be sure if I cut a rose and brought it in the house that I had it in the container right. And so that caused me to enroll in classes, and then I started passing the exams, and one thing led to another, and my interest was stimulated, and I just kept going until I reached that level. And that's kind of the way I've always done everything. I've grown up in pretty much an insecure frame of mind, and I don't mind admitting that, because I think that's true with a lot of people. And because of that, I always felt like I had to work extra hard to compensate for it. It wasn't enough for me to just say, this is what I think. I had to make sure that I had the background. And when I got into real estate, for example, it was not enough for me just to get a license. I felt like if I was going to be in a position to tell people this is a good investment, then I put myself in schools all over the country to make sure. I spent a whole week, for example, in Louisville, Kentucky, studying how to analyze an investment property, just because nobody told me to do it. Nobody told me I needed to do it, but I was afraid that I might tell somebody something was a good investment and it turned out that it wasn't. So in 1977, I found myself in a situation that required that I get back into the workforce. And I had 2 daughters to support, and I knew that I couldn't go back into the bank and make enough money to support them in a way that I wanted them to live. And I had been doing television commercials for a real estate company. And just almost on a whim, I just decided that I would take the course and see if I could pass it, and I did. And I, there again, never assumed that anybody owed me anything, because I've had a lot of personal tragedies, a lot of things happen in my life that have caused me not to think that I was due something, that somebody else, you know, owed me anything. So when I started working in real estate, anything that anybody told me I needed to do, I did it. I just didn't question it. If somebody told me to go knock on doors in the afternoons and ask people if they know anybody that wants to sell a house, I never thought that was beneath me. I just went and did it. And I just kept on doing one thing after another like that, and never thinking that that I particularly deserved anything. I just always thought I had to work hard to get it. And
do you set goals for yourself?
I'm a real goal setter. I set what I think are unrealistic goals, and then I work like crazy to reach them. So then I go back and reassess and say, oh, well, I didn't set my goal high enough. And so I'm constantly reassessing my goals. I'm very goal-oriented.
Do you ever think you're going to fail?
I think I'm going to fail every day. It's funny, you know, every transaction, and the people that are close to me kid me about this, every time I write a contract, I get just as excited as if it were the very first one I wrote. And I'm always as surprised as I can be when a transaction works. I'm always thinking it's not going to work, and so it drives me crazy and the people that are close to me crazy, but it works great for my clients because I don't leave anything to chance. I try to keep everything covered all the time because I'm always running scared. In my business, I'm paid strictly commission, and so I get up every day with basically out of business, and I have to start over every day. I have to generate business every day. And I thought that there would come a time when it would come easier and that I could just coast. And I've just come to the realization in the last few years that you better not ever coast in this business, that you never can take the pressure off yourself because there's always somebody right there behind you ready to take up the slack.
Does failure or the thought of or the possibility of it drive you in any way?
Absolutely. Fear of no money scares me. And I had an experience that really was kind of a life-changing experience for me. 5 years ago, I was one of those people who's healthy one day and 3 weeks later I was in the hospital and had a back operation. It turned out that the pain I was having in my legs each day, and I thought was just arthritis, turned out that there was a tumor growing in the spinal column. And so I, all of a sudden, instead of being healthy and able to conquer the world, I was flat on my back with 2 teenage girls to support and going into this operation not knowing, and with the doctors telling me that they didn't know what they'd find and that in fact they couldn't guarantee me anything. And so when I came through that operation and it turned out that I was okay, it made me realize how significant every day is. And it really made me take a different attitude about what we deserve, because I realized that I didn't deserve to walk out of that hospital any more than anybody else did, that it was just a gift. And so even now, every day, I have pain when I walk because I have scar tissue from this surgery. But lots of days I run up the steps showing property, and halfway up I stop and think, I'm so glad I can run up these steps. It's insignificant that it hurts because I faced the possibility and the reality that I might not have been able to even walk. And so I guess I feel like that having that happen to me and a lot of other personal things that have happened, a lot of things in my life that I thought were going to work that didn't. And that just really changed my attitude, and it made me love the opportunity to work with people. But it also sobered me and made me face the reality that it can all be gone with one word from the doctor.
Is it more difficult doing what you do, being successful at what you do, being a woman? Does that make it more difficult?
I don't know that it makes it more difficult. My business is very difficult. It's a people-oriented business, but there are a lot of things that are out of your control. For example, rates and that kind of thing. So I don't really think that it's harder as a woman. I think in my particular case it's a little bit harder because if you're a tall blonde, you don't maybe come across as being level-headed or whatever the connotations are of being this, a tall blonde. And being a single woman in the business world brings about challenges too. Knowing that every decision you make is your own decision and you're going to have to take the responsibility for it. I think that makes it difficult to be. And then here in the South, and it's great to live here in the South, but women have not had these roles for a long time. So sometimes you have to work extra hard to convince people that you really do know what you're doing, and that they really can put their